college survey.
Here.
I need a haircut. I can tell when I get my haircut. Oh, we're live. Ha ha! Hi, welcome to Hollow's Use Time. I'm Bev. I need a haircut. I think you muted yourself, Liz, because I can't hear you.
It's probably because I'm typing at the same time, and Google Plus doesn't understand that you can multitask. No, you.
What? Google Plus says no. Google Plus says no. Welcome to Hollow's Jesus Time, where we talk about Hollow. Oh, dear me. A little wet raccoon. Oh well.
I'm like closing all the things that I don't need.
Which is like all the things.
Yeah, like Tumblr and...
I know.
Not just Tumblr, but I'll have like 2 tabs of Tumblr open when it's just like, I don't need that. And
You need simultaneous scrolling.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know if it's possible, but you could do it. I believe in you. Notification? Why are you showing up and then you're not showing me what the notification is? That's annoying. Okay. Welcome to Hollow's Jesus Time. I am Bev. This is Liz. We discuss Jesus things. Ah, the birds make noise in the background. Liz does multitasking. And we're discussing this book. Follow me. Bad David Platt.
Yes.
David Platt. It's pretty good. It's pretty awesome. We are splitting up the chapters, so we are currently on chapter 2. So if you weren't here last week, well, no one was here last week, but if you weren't here the week before last week, then you would know where we stopped. As a new chapter, so you're all good if you haven't been here before. Even if you haven't been, you should come and listen. And it's pretty interesting. It's talking about what it means to truly follow Jesus, the main dude.
Jesus Christo. Yes.
The main dude.
I have to find what book I'm reading. What are we reading again? Just kidding.
I was like, I just had a whole rant about Follow Me by David Platt.
No, yeah. I opened my, because I'm used to like just reading that on my iPad, and so like I opened it up and it was Winter's Curse, and I was like, I don't think Kestrel's in this book.
No.
So...
Nope. I read that. That's alright.
Huh?
I read that one.
Did you like it?
I did, but there's some parts of it that I didn't like. But
yeah, right now I'm just like, it's okay, but I'm not like super
Yeah.
into it for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
Yeah, so I'm reading Champion right now, so by Marie Lu.
We are the champion.
I love that series, the Legend series.
Mhm.
It's like I think it's my favorite dystopian series, but I don't read that much dystopian. I'm very selective since there's so much of it. I'm like,
You haven't read Divergent yet, though, so.
huh?
You haven't read Divergent yet.
So?
Have you? Well.
And that's what I should start doing. Is like just I bought it on sale, so it's on my Nook or whatever. So I don't feel bad for not reading it, but at the same time, I'm like, I should probably read that sometime one day.
Yep. Just Twitter things gonna be bothering me. It's like, here's a notification, but I don't. Blah blah blah. Is anyone here yet? Anyone? Bueller? It might just be us, Liz. That's okay.
What?
Then it might just be us. No, there's 2 people watching, which might be you and me.
Yep. Could be.
That's okay. I'm gonna Tumblr. Since Twitter's being annoying.
Twitter's being annoying? Newsflash.
More so than normal. Maybe it's
goodness.
because I haven't updated my profile yet, and it's like, you need to do that now. I'm like, no, can't make me. Can't make me. I wait till the last second to change my password. I will do the last second to change my profile. You didn't understand. Silently begging. Oh, and now we're down to 1. Oh, okay. I promise we'll start soon. We just have to have somewhat, at least like one person in the chat room. Or not even. We'll probably start at 40, I think. Give them 3 minutes.
Sure.
You got 3 minutes. This is the slow time of the holla. No. I don't. No. Turn that off. No Tumblr. Bad Tumblr. Oh, where were we last week, Liz?
My sister came over.
You have your book
book event, and then my sister was like, "Hey, I'm coming over with a friend," and I was like, "Okay."
Aww.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the Dark Readers or Dark Tour. I call it Dark Readers. Yours Reads. Yeah, that's the one. There's a girl that her booktube name is Dark Reader or something like that. But yeah, I wanted to go to that because that sounded awesome, and a couple of my friends went, and yeah, still had fun, but
yeah, less books, but you probably saved money.
That I did.
So there is the plus.
Yeah,
I mean,
but Morgan Matson was there, and I was sad that I missed her.
Yeah.
Some cool authors.
Okay. Where are all the people? It's Thursday. It's 8:30.
Yo, we do this every time, guys. Where are you?
All the time, every day. That song stuck in my head. Can't figure it out. I was singing Innocence by Avril Lavigne at work today. I was like, why am I singing this song? And it's because I shelved a book called Innocence, and so then it was just flaring in my head. It's like, high school, No one is here. No one. No one loves us. That's okay. Me and Liz will read this book, and we'll talk about things, and
yep,
we'll have a grand old time. So I think we should start. Is there any prayer requests you have, Liz?
Going to New York next week.
Yeah!
So,
for all the books.
For all the books. Like, legitimately all the books.
Mm-hmm. I expect all of them to come home with you. Not a single one must be missed, Liz.
This is a part of my list.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you.
Yep. I try to keep it around 30, and I think that's around that much.
Cool.
So now I'll pick up some randoms because I don't know all the Buzz books, but my friends do, so I just hang out with them, and I'm just like, hey, let me get in this line with you.
Yeah.
That's what I did for Throne of Glass when that came out. I was like, I've never heard of this book, but all my friends say that it's going to be, you know, this is the one everyone's talking about. Oh, whatever. Go away.
I'm sorry. I just have strong feelings.
I'm not saying it's a perfect series or anything.
I just have strong feelings.
Yeah, I think it's one of those books that it's good for people who aren't super into fantasy, but if you do like fantasy, because both you and my friend Vanya really like fantasy, and I'm not super hardcore fantasy person. Because I read Sabriel by Garth Nix, and I was just like, not that it was like bad or anything. I was just like, this is just not my thing.
Mm-hmm. I think I've read that one. Okay, so for Liz, going to BEA for all for my friend's wedding, which is in like 2 weeks. Ah!
That's exciting.
Yes, it's But we figured out what we're doing. We planned one more thing. Actually, I figured out what we're doing for my last real duty, at least outside of actually making sure she gets married. As maid of honor has been planned, her bachelorette party has been figured out, so we're all good there. Now it's just a matter of getting her to the altar without her bolting away. Like, no!
Yeah, no, like, don't do that. No.
I don't think she wouldn't run away from the altar. She would take the groom with her and then they go elope. And I'm like, but you planned on this now.
No. Handcuff yourself to her. Problem solved.
I should do that. I mean, like, here you go. Handcuff.
You're welcome. I'm going to trademark that idea. Bridesmaids, you must now handcuff yourself to the bride the day of the wedding. You know, girls are known to stereotypically go to the bathroom together, so, you know, keep up that stereotype. I don't know.
Why?
The pastor, I don't know why this reminded me of this, but the pastor of the church that I go to, he is missing one of his fingers because of an accident that happened when he was youngin'. And so I don't know why it was brought up in production meeting, but they were like, Richie, you have to learn how to shave with your left hand because you're missing a finger. It's just like, and it's super obvious. Like, there's some people who are like, oh, I didn't know for months, and I was like, I knew the first time I walked in, and he was just like waving his arm around. I was like, he's missing a finger because it says like it's a pointer finger. It's just not there. Just, or like it's like about here.
Huh.
Because apparently, well, his grandparents own a tobacco farm or something like that, and so like somehow his hand got cut like right down the middle or whatever. So yeah, so he's like, I can't make a fist, and I'm like, I mean, you're gonna punch with your 3 fingers.
Right. Okay. So that's pretty much. Is it my turn to pray? Your turn to pray?
What do we have any other prayer requests?
No.
I'll just pray over the young people who are usually late, who always ask for good things. I guess I'll just carry over some things that we prayed for last week. I don't know. What else? Shenanigans, flanagans.
Weddings, EEA. People going to VidCon, just either of us. All the YouTube things. We'll probably do this closer. Well, yeah, I'll probably do this closer to VidCon time for all the people at VidCon, because VidCon's gonna be weird.
Oh yeah, they finally like Hank posted something today on Tumblr about how they're actually like finally getting their anti harassment policy together, and I was like, finally.
Yeah, I saw that. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be super, super weird.
Yeah, because I feel like if they, I don't want to say that, but yeah, hopefully it'll go well for everyone, but you never know.
Alrighty. Only us, Liz.
Only us? Okay. I guess I'll pray then. I think it's my turn to pray. Pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe that.
It wouldn't hurt. Okay, let's do this thing.
Do this thing.
Dear Jesus, I thank you for today, and I thank you that we both could come together and hang out with you. And we know that, you know, more people will probably be here sooner or later, but I pray that you just give them blessings and pray for love over their lives and calmness and peace. Calmness. And I pray for Bev being maid of honor to her friend's wedding, that she can keep a calm spirit amongst everything, and help the bride remain calm as well, because that can be kind of just scary being up there in front of so many people and whatnot. But God, just give her peace of mind and just show her your love, and with her soon-to-be husband. And I pray for that whole weekend that you keep everybody in the wedding party safe and happy, and a drama-free wedding. And God, I pray for BEA stuff, that you give everyone safe travels, and for Christians like me, help us be lights to everyone around us in the publishing world, and blogging and all these other things, that you just help us shine for you, God. And also I want to pray for. Yeah, just pray for just Christians and on YouTube in general too. Like, we do this to show that there are Christians on YouTube and whatnot. But God, I just pray that you, like I said, for BEA kind of stuff, is just help us be lights to everyone around us, and for it to be very obvious that we're Christians and that we're followers of you, God, because it doesn't make any sense for us to not show our love for you and whatnot. And I pray for the puppy to shut up, and pray that as we read this book, that we learn about you and your heart, and that you just shine through it all and teach us good things. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Dad's home.
Say. It's like my world. Animals talking consistently all the time. Danette's here! Yay!
Yay!
Yay, Danette! You are awesome! Thanks for coming! We appreciate you! Now, Follow Me by David Platt. We're on chapter 2. Liz, we are going until the Great Indicator? Or Initiator? Initiator?
Okay.
I'd be like, page 37, but you don't have an actual book.
Mine's
Call
also
yourself a booktuber. Call you an e-reader tuber. Is that right?
eBooktuber.
Booktuber.
I'm surprised there isn't somebody named eBooktuber. I wouldn't be surprised, actually.
Called it. Making it now.
What? Calling it? Yeah.
Calling it.
Alright.
So, we are discussing the Great Invitation. And this is one, like I've said before in previous shows and live shows, that David Platt is pretty awesome. I haven't read much of his works. This is kind of the first one I'm actually like deeply reading. And he doesn't beat around the bush at all. He's like, nope, I'm going to tell you how it is. And I'm going to give you biblical points to back it up. Bam. So this is all about the just invite Jesus into your heart sort of mentality. And it really was like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing that's not necessarily accurate. Whoops. All right. So, it is called the Great Invitation. Throughout Scripture, God uses the picture of adoption to describe his relationship with his people. This picture became the more poignant for my wife Heather and me when we chose to adopt our first son. This is the off-topic. We began the process by deciding on the place from which we might adopt. We put a map of the world on the table and we prayed, Lord, direct us to the child that you desire for us. He led us to adopt internationally from the country of Kazakhstan. I barely knew Kazakhstan existed before the process, but after months of praying, we submitted our application to adopt a Kazakh child? I don't know if that's the right thing.
Yeah, it's Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan, okay.
From, what's it called? What's that movie? I forget, but yeah, Kazakhstan.
Shortly thereafter, I remember telling a woman that we were adopting a child internationally. She responded, a real one? I thought to myself, what kind of question is that? No, we're going to adopt a plastic one and put it in our mantle to look at. Yes, we're adopting a real child. Though I responded with more tenderness than I felt inside, the reality began to set in. We were going to become a real mommy and a real daddy for a real son or daughter who, at the very moment, had no real family to care for him or her. The process of international adoption can be long and in many ways grueling. Some would describe it as a paperwork pregnancy. You virtually have to demonstrate to 2 governments that you are the ideal family. First, we had to undergo a home study, which was a bit of a challenge since our house has recently been submerged by Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. Through the help of our family and various churches, we put together a makeshift apartment as fast as we could. A social worker visited us and asked questions about our lives, families, marriage, and parenting philosophy. As part of the home study, we had to be fingerprinted by what seemed like every type of government or civic organization in the United States. Then Heather and I had to get a physical that would verify a clean bill of health for us as parents. We went to the doctor's office, and everything was going well until we got to the eye chart. I went first, and I still maintained that the lighting was dim in the hallway where we stood. With my hand over my right eye, I began reading the large letters. But before long, I was struggling with the medium-sized letters. I started sweating, thinking, I can't fail this eye exam and delay the adoption process. The nurse knew I was not doing well, so she suggested I switch eyes. I took my hand off my right eye, only to find that my nervousness, I had been pressing down hard on that eye, and everything was blurry. I could read the top letters now. I was visibly flustered, and the nurse said, "Why don't you calm down, sir, move over and let your wife go. Then you can try again." "That sounds great," I said, stepping aside to regain my composure and refocus my vision. Once I was able to do that, and as Heather was completing her eye exam with both eyes open, I looked down at the letters and memorized them. When it was my turn to try again, I stood confidently with one eye covered and read off every single letter. The nurse was pleased that I was now getting them correct, and I thought to myself, hey, if you want me to do this, I can do this with both eyes covered. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, fingerprints, days of waiting, blah, blah, blah. Finally, about a year later, I received an email. It was a picture of a boy, 9 months old, abandoned at birth, in need of a home and a mom and a dad. I printed out the picture and ran it to show Heather. We laughed, we cried, we rejoiced, we prayed, and within 2 weeks we were on a plane headed to Kazakhstan. It was the day after Valentine's Day in 2007. Upon arrival in our son's city, we were immediately taken to his orphanage, where the director met us and escorted us into a small room. He shared all sorts of medical information with us about our son, and then it happened. A woman rounded the corner with her precious 10-month-old boy in her arms. Words really can't describe the immediate swell of emotion that filled the room. The woman handed him to us, and the first time, Caleb Platt looked into the eyes of a mom and a dad. For the next 4 weeks, we visited Caleb in his orphanage. We held him, fed him, and sang to him, laughed with him, and crawled all over the floor with him, until the day came for us finally to adopt him. We were instructed on what to wear, what to say, and what to expect when we stood before a Kazakh judge. Our hearts were pounding in that courtroom as the proceeding played out. After a number of questions and testimonies concerning Caleb's background, the judge pronounced, I grant this application of adoption, and this child now belongs to David and Heather Platt. We left the room with tears streaming from our eyes, ready to pick up Caleb from his orphanage for the last time. And all this is to say, the parallels between Caleb's story and the gospel story are many, but I want to point out that one that is particularly significant. Adoption like this begins with a parent's initiative, not a child's idea. Before Caleb was even born in Kazakhstan, he had a mom and a dad working to adopt him. While Caleb was lying alone in an orphanage in Kazakhstan, he had a mom and a dad planning to adopt him. And one day when Caleb was placed in the arms of his mom and dad, he had no idea all that he had been done, completely apart from any initiative in him, to bring him to that point. It seems obvious, but is especially important. This precious 10-month-old boy did not invite us to come to him in Kazakhstan to bring him into our family. He didn't even know to ask for such a thing. No, this orphan child became our cherished son because of a love that was entirely beyond his imagination and completely outside of his control. He did not pursue us, for he was utterly unable to do so. Instead, we pursued him. This is the heart of Christianity, and we are prone to miss it when we describe becoming a follower of Jesus as inviting him into our hearts. Boom. That's where he starts. She's like, hey, no. The reality of the gospel is that we do not become God's children ultimately because of initiative in us, and he does not provide salvation primarily because of an invitation from us. Instead, before we were ever born, God was working to adopt us. While we were lying alone in the depth of our sin, God was planning to save us. And the only way we can become a part of the family of God is through a love entirely beyond our imagination and completely out of our control. Christianity does not begin with our pursuit of Christ, but with Christ's pursuit of us. Christianity does not start with an invitation we offer to Jesus, but with an invitation that Jesus offers to us. Oh, snap! Oh, snap!
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
It reminds me of a song, and I can't remember what it is, but we sang it last Sunday at church, and it was something like that, where it's like, you know, how did it go? It's like, I forget the words, but it was basically like, God's not going to leave his children abandoned.
Now I'm thinking of My Deliverer is Coming, and that's not it.
Nope, that's not it.
Okay.
I do need to like make a playlist and like share it for Hollis Jesus time, because I do have like a praise and worship kind of
I like
thing.
Jesus.
And there's a church that my church works with that they just came out with a new album, and their stuff is really good. It's called New Spring Church, and their stuff is on Spotify, so check it out. It's there. And I've started listening to like some of Bethel's stuff, and like if you look up spontaneous worship on YouTube, there's a couple of videos from Bethel that are really good. And I don't know how I got to this point, but talking about music. But yes, yeah, it's like, okay, it really does put it in perspective. It's like I didn't choose. Well, I chose to accept Christ into my life, but I did not choose for Christ to die on the cross for me. I didn't choose his actions. I choose my own actions to accept that into my life and to say, yes, I want that to cover my sins. I want that to,
Yeah. It's definitely true. Like, when people are being iffy about it, and I'll just have to think of like, but he still died for you. Like,
oh yeah,
he's like, still did, still happened. Can't take that.
Yeah, it's not up to you whether or not he died. It had already happened.
Yeah. True that. Alrighty. It says, dead people don't invite. This is true. Consider the biblical background leading up to the fateful day where those 4 fishermen who first heard Jesus' invitation to follow him. The stories in the first book of the New Testament takes us all the way back to the first book of the Old Testament. There in Genesis, the first man and first woman sinned against God and were separated from his presence. Orphaned from their Creator as a result of their rebellion, the rest of the Old Testament tells the story of their sinful descendants. Yeah, it does. Murder, wickedness, sexual immorality, and corruption soon saturate the pages of the Bible. Only 6 chapters in, it becomes clear that the inclination of every person's heart is consistently evil beginning from childhood. The judgment of God and that depravity of man is both dreadful and devastating as he floods the entire world and then destroys sinful cities. A perusal through the pages of the Old Testament shows severe punishment towards sin and sinners alike. As fire from heaven rains down on Sodom and Gomorrah, God instructs Lot and his family to flee and not look back towards these cities. In disobedience, Lot's wife glances back and suddenly loses her life. Yes. After fire falls from Mount Sinai in a display of God's glory, God gives his law and instructs his people to rest on the Sabbath. Not long thereafter, a man is caught picking up sticks on the Sabbath, and he is brought before the Lord for judgment. In response to this man's sin and disobedience, the Lord declares that he should be stoned to death. There's probably more to that story than just like, oh, he's just picking up sticks. The same fate befalls Achan and his family when they disobey God's command not to keep plunder from a battle. Aaron's sons Nadab and Abihu, sounds like Abihu, offer unauthorized fire before the Lord in the tabernacle, and they are immediately consumed. Though commanded not to touch the Ark of the Covenant, Uzzah reaches out to keep it from falling, and he immediately dies. Indiana Jones has some things to say about the Ark of the Covenant too. Just an FYI.
Yeah, I was about to say. Okay.
Don't look, Marion! Close your eyes! There's your new reference for this evening. Many people read stories like this in the Old Testament and walk away confused. After all, isn't God a God of love? Aren't these punishments for sin a bit severe? Annihilated for looking backward, stoned for picking up sticks, consumed for one wrong offering, and killed for one inadvertent touch? Such questions, though honest, reveal a fundamental problem with our perspective. We naturally view sin through man-centered eyes. The reason we wonder if these punishments are overly harsh is because we cannot imagine ever responding this way if the offenses were against us. When people disobey us, or do something we have asked them not to do, we don't conclude that they should die. Yet the penalty for sin is not determined by our measure of it. Instead, the penalty of sin is determined by the magnitude of the one who is sinned against. If you sin against a log, you are not very guilty. On the other hand, if you sin against a man or woman, then you are absolutely guilty. And ultimately, if you sin against the infinite and holy eternal God, you are infinitely guilty and worthy of eternal punishment. Azim, an Arab follower of Jesus and a friend of mine, was sharing the gospel recently with a taxi driver in his country. The driver believed that he would pay for his sin for a little while in hell, but then he would surely go to heaven after that. After all, he hadn't done too many bad things. So Azim said to him, "If I slapped you in the face, what would you do?" The driver replied, I would throw you out of my taxi. Azim continued, if I went up to a random guy on the street and slapped him in the face, what would he do to me? Quiet. The driver said he would probably call his friends and beat you up. Azim asked, what if I went up to a policeman and slapped him in the face? What would he do to me? The driver replied, you would be beat up for sure and then thrown in jail. Finally, Azim posed this question. What if I went to the king of this country and slapped him in the face? What would happen to me then? The driver looked at Azim and awkwardly laughed. He told Azim, you would die. To this, Azim said, so you see that the severity of a sin's punishment is always a reflection of the position of the person who is sinned against. The driver thus realized that he had severely underestimated the seriousness of his sin against God. Good perspective is like, it's not but how bad your sin is, it's like, who are you sinning against? AKA the person who gives you life and breath and sustains you, ultimately. Right?
Intense.
Okay. How about you? Have you underestimated the seriousness of your sin? The likelihood is that you have been led to do so in the church. For far too long, we have been convinced one another that we are basically good people who have simply made some bad decisions. Whether we have lied or cheated or stolen or taken God's name in vain, we have all made mistakes. We just need to invite Jesus to come into our hearts, and he will forgive us of all of these things. But assuming that we can even make this kind of invitation shows that we don't grasp the gravity of our sinfulness. In our sin, we are utterly unable to call on Christ because we are totally consumed with running from God. At the core of who we are enemies of God with no real desire for God. Sure, we'll take a quick fix for our sin when it is offered to us, tell us the prayer to pray or the words to say, and we'll do it. Yet deep down inside, we are still controlled by sinful hearts that are looking for a way to save our skin while we live for ourselves. Lest you think I'm overstating our sinfulness, listen to the testimony of the Bible. In our sin, we have alienated ourselves from God and are hostile toward him. We are slaves to our sin and dominated by Satan. We love darkness and hate light. We live in impurity and in wickedness. Our minds are depraved, blinded to the truth by the God of this world. Our desires are disordered, our hearts are sinful, and our wicked passions of our flesh wage war against our souls. Our bodies are defiled, we are morally evil and spiritually sick. He has all little subnotes of different passages, so those are given.
Yep.
Here Paul's humbling New Testament testimony as he summarized the Old Testament truth. There is no one righteous, not even one. There is no one who understands, no one who seeks God. All have turned away, and they have become worthless. There is not one who does good, not even one. Their throats are open graves, their tongues practice deceit. The poison of vipers is on their lips. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Ruin and misery mark their ways. And the way of peace they do not know. There is no fear of God in their eyes. Do we realize all of this? Our problem is not simply that we have made some bad decisions. Our problem is that just that we've messed up. Our problem is that we are, at the very core of our being, rebels against God and are utterly unable to turn to him. Can't do it. Won't do it. Can't do it. This is what the Bible means when it says we are dead in sin. When Paul wrote to the Ephesian Christians and said you were dead in your transgressions and sins in which you used to live, he meant that they were completely dead. Not partially dead, not almost dead, not halfway not dead, not kind of dead, not even mostly dead. He missed that opportunity. Completely dead. So how can people who are dead invite someone else to give them life? Before you were born, did you invite your parents to have you? When a man's heart is flatlined, does he invite people to resuscitate him? No. All of these things are impossible for those who are dead. Similarly, inviting Jesus to come into your heart is impossible when you're dead in sin. In your death, you need someone else completely outside of you to call you to life and enable you to live.
Turn itself on. You gotta put that key in the ignition.
Right? Like this, the car be like, hey, could you please turn me on? Please start me. And that's the end of, at least that's halfway point for those two, which read really quickly. But I talked about that. So, and there's two people here, so we can wrap up a little bit early. I think that's fine.
Okay, so.
But yeah. So what do you think about that, Liz? We can't do it because we are dead.
I'm just about to sneeze. Hold on. Am I gonna sneeze? I think I talked my way through the sneeze. Yeah, this definitely like showed me some stuff that I really hadn't thought about. Like the fact, like I hadn't thought about it in that way. Like, yes, I am very thankful for the sacrifice Jesus made for my life. Right now, I mentioned, I know I mentioned this last time, but I'm going through the 30 days of the gospel on the Bible app, and so like, and right now it's like talking. A lot of it's like the crucifixion and stuff leading up to the crucifixion, and so it's just like, wow, this is intense stuff. Like. Yeah, it's crazy. But the fact that it's like, you know, we always talk about like, oh, before you've even sinned, before you were even alive, you've been forgiven. But like, you don't really think about it in this perspective of you didn't have to do anything for Jesus to do that. Like, Jesus did this, and yes, like way before your time, and da-da-da-da-da, and like, and your job is to accept that into your life. And yeah, to call you to life and enable you to live, and it's like, yeah, like, okay, you like you're raising from the spiritually dead, and you're being attracted towards the light. And so,
definitely. I just thought it was like super interesting that he's like, you can't do it. Like, there is no way.
You can't save yourself.
Yeah. And also, it really helped me put it in perspective. Like, you see people, and you're like, how are you not, like, how? Why? And it's like, because they can't. They can't.
You can't. Yeah.
They have lost the ability to can.
To even.
Can't even. To even. Can't even. Can't even get. All the memes. But, like, so it definitely put into perspective to view people who, you know, aren't necessarily, pat on the back, Christian, you're awesome. It's like, oh, okay. And just to realize that, yeah, I was in that. I'm still kind of in that, because really, even with Christ being my Savior and Lord, sometimes I'm just like, but, other things. And it's like subconscious, just doing sinful things, because it's a thing. It's flesh. It's all the wonderful, wonderful sinful nature we have, but it was just really interesting to be like, yeah, no, you can't. It's not you. But I definitely liked his adoption analysis, and like, not allegory, not metaphor. Some word. I forgot the word.
Not
picture.
Oh.
Analogy?
Yes. Yeah, because it's not a metaphor, because it's like a real part of his life.
Yeah. That's the analogy. About that and how adoption, that because you all hit the you were adopted as sons, so you're like, yeah, adoption's great, but he's like, but you don't choose to get adopted.
Yeah, he takes it very like step by step, like, okay, here's where we went through our adoption process, and here's what, like, and it's like he doesn't necessarily point out, well, I don't know. Let's see, I have a terrible memory, but basically him being like, okay, and then here's what Jesus did, you know, here's what God did. For your adoption, like, he's like, okay, are you getting the picture? Okay, cool. Like,
you got it? You got it. I went this whole thing.
Okay, let's move on. Because he does, like, go on a bit about, like, the adoption stuff, but, like, it all comes in together and is like, okay, now this is exactly what God did for you. Like, not necessarily, like, literally, but, you know, like, this is what God did for you.
It's true. Very true.
It's kind of crazy.
Kinda. It's super crazy. Because he did it, and he continues to do it.
Yep.
That's another amazing part. It's like, it's still happening. It's not like he's like, okay, done. We're good. I got enough. Have my tally. We're good. So, he's like, nope, still doing it. Still gonna love on more people. And yeah. So I'm assuming, I read this chapter and then I forgot what the chapter was, but he discusses more in depth, the lighter side of this option, because this was kind of like, hey, we are awful, 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 awful people. But compared to God, who is infinitely awesome and wonderful and amazing and creator and perfect, we are awful. So it makes it even more amazing that he's like, yeah, I'm gonna die for you. You awful people, I got your back. In fact, I'm gonna make you a whole new back. It's like, I'm gonna make you a whole new person. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know if we have anyone here who wants to ask questions, but we can take questions now. Liz and I might talk about YouTube things for a moment while we're waiting for questions, because that inevitably always happens. But
oh yeah,
we can discuss Jesus questions as well.
Jesus questions, YouTube, whatever, tomato, tomato. Just kidding.
Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. There's other words. I'm like thinking. Wait for it. Wait for it. Click, 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 click. Ooh, this is the time of day where this is the time of Hollis. She's the time where Beverly checks to make sure that she's going to be here next week.
Well, I'll be a BA, so.
Oh, never mind. It won't matter.
Yeah, I was like, well, have fun with that.
I thought about doing it last week by myself, but it's more fun with Liz. Because I have someone to talk to versus me talking.
So, I don't know.
So fun. So fun.
Irreplaceable.
There you are. You're amazing just the way you are. Yeah, I will be here. I will be off that evening, but it doesn't matter because you're not here. So we'll take another break, I guess. It's fine.
Kind of break.
We can just do Holla every other week if we really wanted to.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. When schedules allow. It happens. And then we'll give more people time to show up. What? Summer's gonna be crazy though. Summer's always a time where it's just like it's really hard to get people because they're like, but summer. Summer is when we do things and when internet people actually want to go outside.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll just do a show from outside, except it's dark at this time of night, so maybe we'll skip that part.
We got lights. Just
whatever.
Okay. I have to open a lot next week. So much opening. Ugh. So early. So early. That's alright. I don't think we have any questions. So, we will probably wrap this up. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching if you're watching later. Sorry the first few minutes were slightly iffy, but that's what happens. And we will be back soonish. Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter.
Yes.
All the things.
All of them.
Yay. Follow them. Yeah. I was going to think of something. I was like, I can't think of anything.
I'm about to hit that button.
Okay, hit the button.